Okay, so the last video I made covering Blue Lock did much better than I expected, so I decided I might as well capitalize on this situation while I can and keep them fucking coming, baby. Today, I wanted to kick off a new series on the channel. Week by week, I'll be pumping out content covering Blue Lock as both the manga and anime continue to release, and once we reach the end of each specific arc, I'm going to go back and recap the entire arc in a way that allows you to retain all the most important information while also not getting too lost in explanation. Sound fair? Okay, cool. Episode 11 of the anime released this week, bringing a close to the first selection arc, the second of only 7 arcs the manga has covered so far. Seeing as to how I don't have much to catch up on, we're going to start from the beginning. Before discussing the first selection, we need to cover the introduction arc. I tend to see the first selection as more of an extension of the introduction arc. However, the introduction arc is one that, while brief, is required to not only introduce the reader to the story, but also to grab them by the damn balls and keep them wanting more. To understand Blue Lock, we have to know who the main character is, what his dreams are, what past issues he has to overcome, and most importantly, what he has in store for him in the coming future. If you want to read this yourself, it'll be episodes 1 and 2 of the anime, or chapters 1 through 4 of the manga, and without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy. In the world of football, first-class goalies, defenders, and midfielders can be raised. But strikers are something different entirely. The creatures known as first-class strikers will suddenly appear in the place where the game is the hottest. These are the words that the story of Blue Lock opens with. We begin in a business room at the Japanese Football Union. A group of businessmen and women are sitting there discussing the loss Japan suffered in the 2018 World Cup. For the most part, these suits seem to have little to no care for the game of soccer itself, as all they're focused on is money and profits. All except for one, new hire at the JFU, Thierry Henry, and default best girl because she's literally the only damn girl we see in the show, who states that Japanese soccer is in danger, and that at the rate they're going, Japan may never have a chance to win the World Cup. This declaration is met with a wave of laughs from those around, who seem to think Henri is delusional and have no hope for Japan to be the best in the world. Henri then commands the room, declaring that she has the solution, and it starts with the coach who she claims will bring rebirth to Japanese soccer, Jinpachi Igo. We jump to an ongoing game, where for the first time we see our MC, Isagi Yoichi, in the finals of his prefecture. He seems to be much more skilled than those he's going up against, as he breaks through the defense with relative ease. With time winding down, he finds himself one-on-one with a goalie and contemplates what he should do. He thinks to take the shot, but at the last second, he opts out, choosing to pass to a teammate, who ends up missing. What a fucking sellout. This allows the opposing team to counter. Ryosuke Kira, the superstar striker for the opposing team, scores a game-sealing goal, killing Isagi's aspirations for going to nationals. Following the loss, we see a whole team mourning the death of their hopes and aspirations, as that's probably going to be the last soccer game they play in their entire lives. All but Isagi, who just sits there, seemingly unaffected and emotionless. It wasn't until his walk home where, upon reminiscing about his dream of becoming a professional soccer player, that he finally breaks down, as more than anything, he just wanted to win that game and continue to play soccer. He asks himself, what if I took the shot? Would it have changed my fate? What should I have done? It is here where the egoist Isagi Yoichi was born. Upon arriving at his house, he finds that he received a letter from the JFU, inviting him to some sort of special player training. Upon arrival, Isagi comes face to face with Kira, the one who recently defeated him. He actually turns out to be a really nice guy, complimenting and befriending Isagi, a choice he would regret for the rest of his life. The pair head inside and are met with a crowded room, filled with some of the best youth soccer players in the country. But Isagi notices something strange. All of the players that are in the room are forwards. It is here we meet Jinpachi Igo, the man hired to give Japan a World Cup. The only way you can truly describe Igo is mad, which will make sense the more you see him. He goes on to give a speech telling the players, who he deems his unpolished gems, that he is conducting an experiment to create the world's greatest striker. Introducing the Blue Lock facility. All 300 of the best strikers in the world will compete against one another until only one remains. That one player will undoubtedly have gained the skills to become the world's greatest striker and lead Japan to its first World Cup victory. He tries to end his announcement here, but Kira interjects. He questions what will come of everyone's team if they compete, to which Igo basically says fuck off. To Igo, soccer is not about teamwork, and the same goes for strikers. He goes on to belittle Japanese soccer since it's so ingrained with teamwork, and in Igo's opinion, soccer is about scoring goals. Whoever scores the most points is the best. Point blank period, and only those who are true egoists can become the greatest striker in the world. This proclamation outrages Kira, who protests Igo's claims, giving us one of the funniest panels in the manga, as Igo truly doesn't give two fucks. He goes on to quote famous football players such as Cantona, Pele, and the fictional Noel Noah, the current world's #1 best striker, showing that these great strikers are some of the biggest egoists in the world. While some like Kira were outraged at Igo, it was quite the opposite for those like Isagi, who was insanely intrigued by what Igo was proposing. Igo goes on to describe a scenario. Packed crowd, final minute of OT, the last play comes down to you. One-on-one with the goalie, you have a teammate next to you. Passing almost guarantees you a goal. What will you do? The same scenario Isagi found himself in at the beginning of this chapter. He wasn't going to let that happen again. The old Isagi Yoichi would have hesitated, but this Isagi was the first to run headfirst into the unknown world of Blue Lock. The next day marks the first day at Blue Lock. As the players arrive, they're given uniforms with a mysterious letter and number on them. As Isagi enters the facility, he's met in a room with 11 other players, one of them, luckily, who is Kira, who he's very glad to see. We get a quick look at some of the players they're with, consisted of one shredded Ichigo ripoff, some dude sleeping on the floor, and Monk, the number one player in all of Blue Lock. Igo quickly pops up on a big screen explaining that the numbers on each uniform mark their current rankings. He then explains that everyone in the room is on the same team, yet they are also rivals pushing each other higher and higher in order to become the best. Igo further explains the importance of the rankings as the top 5 players are going to be registered for the U20 World Cup, while anybody who loses will never be able to play soccer for the Japanese national team ever again. Following this intense speech, he announces the start of their first challenge, a game of tag in which you have to not get hit by the ball, and if you're it when time winds down, you're gone. Monk, being the lowest ranked player, starts off with the ball, which he doesn't do much with as he doesn't succeed in hitting anyone. He eventually stumbles upon the dude who's taking a nap, an easy kill for DeMonk, you know what I'm saying? Until BAM! The dude quickly wakes up and smacks this motherfucker with some crazy ass spin kick, pissing off Ichigo, who apparently likes to play fair. Distracted, Ichigo gets nailed by Monk, pissing him off immensely. We find out that his name is Kunigami Rensuke, and we see that he possesses insane power in his left foot as he drills a restrained Isagi in the stomach, making him it with only 1 minute remaining. Isagi panics as the sleeping dude and Kunigami begin to fight, which leads to Monk getting injured. He tries to call a timeout as Isagi slowly approaches in order to crush his dreams so his can live on. At this moment, Isagi hesitates, but it's not out of remorse. He came to Blue Lock to be the best. Taking out the weakest opponent is something his old, weak self would do. That's the easy way out. The only way for him to evolve is to defeat someone stronger. Quickly, he turns around, where he is met by the sleeping kid, who steals the ball, revealing his name to be Meguru Bachira. Bachira makes a beeline for Kira, claiming that Isagi was right. If you're going to take someone out, it should be the strongest player on the field. Bachira aims a kick for Kira, who dodges, only to see that Bachira is attempting to hit him with a flying kick. This guy's kind of got a fucking screw loose. He's awesome though. He narrowly dodges and continues to run away as time winds down until Bachira strangely just kicks the ball. It seemed as if he kicked it to nowhere and screwed himself over as time's bound to wind down and no one's gonna get hit until we see the ball drop in front of none other than the man Kira eliminated from nationals, RMC Isagi Yoichi. He states the strongest guy is you, nailing Kira in the face as time winds down. Ryusuke Kira was the first elimination in Blue Lock. Kira begins to pull out every goddamn excuse in the book, blaming, complaining, and questioning how any of this has any relevance in football. Igo quickly puts this little bitch in his place, explaining how every single part of Blue Lock has to do with football, claiming that anyone who couldn't survive on this battlefield was simply unfit to be a striker. Isagi wanting to attack the strongest rather than the weakest, and the way Bachira stole the ball to get the elimination himself, that is the egoism that Igo's looking for. That is what it takes to become the number one. That is the only way to survive Blue Lock. Kira gets the boot, giving Isagi one of the dirtiest looks you will ever see, as Isagi thinks to himself. He understands what he did. He could have let the ball go and saved Kira, but instead he acted on his instincts and basically ended his soccer career. But he wonders, why did it feel so damn good? He presses Bachira, asking why he passed the ball to him, that he trusted him, so he just thought he should kick it there. He won by trusting Isagi. Igo pops back up to let them know that they've passed the entrance exams. And with that, the remaining 11 form Team Z. From here we go into a quick one-chapter training arc where we see the team doing some basic physical tests. These discourage Isagi as he finds himself to be physically inferior to everyone around him. The hot-headed Raichi had stamina for days, and Kuon was very tall with a tremendous jumping ability, so he obviously just felt weak. We get a quick look at life inside of Blue Lock. Everyone is given the same main course, with the side dishes differing based on everyone's ranking. Isagi was pretty low. I mean, he's second to the bottom, so, his side was pretty buns, but he's gonna rank up ASAP, so just wait on the boy. It's here we are introduced to more of the team, specifically Gagamaru and Naruhaya, who are fighting over some food. From here we cut to nighttime and Isagi is restless. He relents upon the earlier training session and cannot bring himself to accept his inferiority, thus he quickly gets up to go train, running into Bachira in the hallway, who asks him to train with him. Bachira quickly shows off his skills, displaying his amazing dribbles for Isagi while explaining to him that he has a monster inside of him that tells him what to do when he plays. That's why he passed the ball, because the monster said so. Maybe it's because Isagi has a monster inside of himself as well. From this point on, Isagi realizes that he needs to improve, that in order to improve, he has to understand his inner monster. The two are interrupted by an announcement which calls all players to the rooms. It's here where they're given their brand new rankings, followed by a FaceTime call from Ego. He describes the layout of Blue Lock, explaining that their living situation is shit because, well, they're all shit. The facility is composed of 5 wings. Teams B through Z, 25 in all, are split into groups of 5 and are living together in each wing. This being the case, that totals 25 eliminated from the game of tag, explaining their new rankings. Our team is in Wing 5, Team Z, the absolute lowest of the low. If they don't like their living situation, they have to do something about it. Climb the ranks and show why you deserve to live better than everybody else. And with that impassioned speech, Ego announces the commencement of the first selection of Blue Lock. At the same time, we jump back to the JFU headquarters, where we see a journalist attempting to interview a young man. His name was Atoshi Sai, the genius midfielder who currently plays for Real Madrid's youth team in Spain. Sai scorns his home nation, claiming that soccer in Japan is not worth his time and that no forward in the country was fit to receive his passes. He gets up to leave when he stumbles upon a very packed press conference. A conference discussing something so interesting that it stops Sai dead in his tracks. Blue Lock. We quickly return to the facility where Ego is explaining the first challenge of the first selection, a round-robin tournament composed of the 5 teams in each wing. After the final match, only the top 2 teams are going to survive, along with the leading scorer of the other 2 teams. Remember, this is all about becoming the best striker in the world, so goals matter more than anything. While Ego breaks out to an impassioned speech, Henri does the same at the conference, announcing to the entire country that Blue Lock will lead to the birth of a hero in Japan. Sai suddenly changes his mind about leaving, claiming that he'll see for himself what kind of forward this country can produce, as the arc closes on Isagi, claiming that the one who will survive is him. And that's going to do it for today, folks. I feel like I may have drawn it out at times, but I couldn't help it. I didn't want you guys to miss any info. I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you made it to the end. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, please drop a like and consider subscribing to the channel with post notifications turned on so you never miss another video again. Comment down below what you thought about the arc as a whole, and let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this covering future arcs, as well as what I can do to make those videos better compared to this one. Well, that's all I got for you today. Love you, boys. Take it easy.